And again, the agenda on hour number 2, we have a number of folks coming up here, and including obviously next up, Meg Walsh from Amazon Web Services. And we have a host of other folks coming up about digital health and human rights as well. And looking forward to talking with folks around there. But next up, I'm thrilled to introduce an old friend for I think almost 30 years now, Meg Walsh, who's then done a number of startups and sold them off, and has always been a leader in the global healthcare system. Meg, thanks for joining us again today, and handing it over to you.
You bet. Thank you so much, Stan, as always. Welcome, everyone. Thrilled to be here. Meg Columbia-Walsh, as Stan said, and I'll be the moderator today. We're going to be talking about health equity for women, which is terrific. And I have a great guest with me, Marissa Fayer, who's the CEO and founder of Her Health EQ. And so welcome. And we're going to kick it off. Just a quick intro. So I am a very long time health tech entrepreneur, care a lot about it. I'm also a Columbia Distinguished Fellow and alum, so a lot of heart for Columbia as well. And I'll turn it over to my distinguished guest, Marissa, for a little intro.
Hey, Meg, thanks so much. So I'm Marissa Fayer. I'm the founder and CEO of Her Health EQ, which is a global nonprofit focused on women's health in developing countries. And so we provide medical equipment and devices, oftentimes repurposed, to hit this entire circularity and making sure that there's no waste. But also we're focused on women's health, and we also oftentimes incorporate digital health. And so it's great to be here.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. So thank you, and a great mission for sure. And one that is in a time where women's health could not be more front and center. Women, the providers of life, and we need to really protect everything around that and our health. And so why don't you tell us, Marissa, besides just the organization, why is digital health so important to women's health equity globally?
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's really everything. I mean, it's about accessibility, it's about equity of care. I was just reading before, and I found this fascinating. 83% of the entire global population owns a cell phone. 83%.
Yeah.
So just imagine kind of like what that means. That means, all of these people have healthcare potentially out at their fingertips. And it makes tech accessible. It makes health accessible through tech. And it makes also the ability, like all of this digital health, makes just general other tech smaller. So smaller, it's in the hand, or it's handheld in an ultrasound, which again, it points to the accessibility. So digital health is creating accessibility within the health landscape. It allows pre-screenings to happen before you're going to the doctor. It allows geolocating to get you to the closest doctor. It also brings care to the patient. And there's some things always you'll have to go to the doctor for, and that's and go to a clinic or a physician. But on a global landscape, digital health has the ability to bring it to the patient. And that's on a global scale for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we know globally, if you look at other nonprofits like the Hunger Project, years ago, really focused on women, realizing that globally and in rural communities, they were the leaders of those communities, and teaching them how to bring food, water, etc., was going to be our greatest. And Johnson & Johnson did a huge program for maternal health with texting, because you're right, and I believe we're not doing enough. Mobile health is the way to reach so many women globally. So for you, how do you see that equity being spread? How do you work in your own nonprofit to help spread that equity and to reach those different developing economies?
Yeah, a lot of what we do is actually in this middle income, the middle and higher income countries, because I want us to think when we think about global health, it doesn't necessarily have to be a rural population. What we're imagining,
Yeah.
I mean, what we're doing is we're incorporating tech into a lot of our programs. So one of them in particular is in India, and it's for breast cancer screening. So first, the mobile digital part is education and why you should be doing home breast exams and routine ones as well. And it reminds you to do that and teaches you how to do that, which is not part of the normal health education. And then it says, hey, you haven't had a breast screening, a clinical breast screening. So here's a great doctor in your region that has technology that is very digital health. It's hands off, which is obviously culturally appropriate as well. And it uses smarter technologies such as thermal, which is again, talking about digital health, you're taking a camera and you're doing a heat map of a breast. Breast cancer, all cancers show up hot, but especially with breast cancer, it's quite innovative because it's external to your body, so you can see it. And so we are working with making sure the doctors have that type of equipment, making sure communities have this education and connecting them together. And this is, it provides education, it provides screenings, it provides reminders, it provides the next level of care if God forbid something happens, and the ability for the doctor and the patient and ourselves to be able to track it to make sure that patients are having a continuum of care. And then listen, like we all know what happened during the pandemic, like we all forgot to get our mammograms or our breast screens or any health screenings. Like everybody's busy. Let's set a reminder every month to be doing this, yourself. Let's set an annual reminder to go get your clinical breast exam. So these are the things how we're incorporating digital tech into global health and creating equity. Because it's not just here in the US. This is a global scale.
And when you reach them, Marissa, when you are engaged in a program and you don't have time in this panel, unfortunately, to describe all of those for us, but when you start to reach out, just example that you just described, do you see a rise in future connection and improved connection in healthcare because you've connected with them one time? Are you seeing that improvement?
Yeah, we're absolutely seeing it. And we're also seeing that they're telling their friends and their sisters and their mothers about it. And so it becomes, a larger platform. And also what it shows the very busy hospitals is that, by the way, we've already pre-qualified the people who are coming in. They are a high priority because there is something wrong with them. You're not just doing a screen.
Yeah.
And so this is why some of the hospitals and higher level clinics are very interested in these types of solutions, because it's so busy. And also it creates the ability to be able to almost pre-screen. So you have less congestion at these healthcare clinics, because, also when, the time of COVID and flu and all of these things, like less people around is better. So it provides the focus. And so we're seeing that there's connectedness. And again, this is just for breast cancer. These types of platforms can be expanded to so many other types of screenings. And that's the intent. Women in, middle class, upper class, even, middle ranges, even at the lower economic scales, they want their health. They just don't necessarily have all the accessibility to take control of their health, and there's capital to be spent.
I mean, even equity is an interesting word for healthcare, because it shouldn't even be a discussion that we all expect to be able to get care and when we need it, particularly if something's wrong. So just as we close out, one more question. When you talk about global health equity and women, usually we're talking about other areas. Here in America, we have a real need for health equity right now, and it's going to be more than ever before. We're having maternal health issues. Have you had to shift some of your strategies to increase your care in the US?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily something that we as an organization focus on, but ironically, we did launch a program in the US during the pandemic because we started to see it. There are a lot more people coming about and asking about like, how do we increase equity here? And it's something that, you know, obviously we're looking at. Our focus is on a global scale, but there's so much to be done, and I also have to think about it like there's also so much to be done in non-urban situations too.
Yes.
And more rural, populations too. So it expands, and so I think we need to think about healthcare is for all people, and it needs to be a priority, and it needs to just be accessible. And that's the point. Like this, when we talk about digital health, like it's accessibility no matter where you live. And so it could be a rural US. It could be, rural or urban India. It could be, in Africa or Latin America. And there needs to be these types of solutions that are available for everyone to have access. That's what this is talking to. And this is obviously also here very prevalent in the US.
Yeah. So you mentioned a breast cancer project you were working on. So as you look to the future for your own organization, in this particular topic, what are the areas you are putting up on the whiteboard? What are you focusing on? What are your top 5 areas of concern?
For sure. So it's cancers affecting women. So we do a lot of priority on cervical cancer, breast cancer, lung cancer, stomach cancer. These are things that are popping up more prevalent in women. Maternal health, which we know is a problem everywhere, including in the US. Diabetes and heart disease. These are the ones that, for us, it's those are the 4 priorities. And it's really, these are the issues that are kind of coming up with a lot more prevalence around the world.
Yeah. You're really seeing the amount of news, and 35 years into this, and seeing from the very beginning of the first health site on the web, literally we found it, to today, I would love to say that we've moved the needle so far. I think we've moved the needle. We certainly improved it. Technology definitely helped, but there's a lot more. Oh, did we lose everybody? There's a lot more to go. And just in a closing comment, if you had an unlimited budget and you looked into the future a little, what would be the initiatives that you would really focus on for health equity across the globe?
I would make sure that there is solutions in everybody's, hand and pocket and clinic to solve, cervical cancer, which could be solvable, breast cancer, which is even more on the rise, diabetes, screening, heart disease. Like these are things that, like, if I had obviously unlimited capital, and happy to talk to anybody about that, that we we need to get this out into everybody's hands. And that's, like, to me, that's why it's so important to continue to talk and focus on it. Exactly what you said, Meg.
Exactly, just to even have the subject. So, well, Thank you. These are always too brief. I could talk to you for hours. I appreciate it. And to the audience, these are always terrific, and we're just thrilled to have you. So thank you. And Stan, I'll turn it back to you.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Meg. And thank you, Marissa, for a terrific session on what's happening here.
All right. Talk soon. Thank you.
Thanks.
And so one of the things we have to remember as we're discussing digital health and human rights is that there's an inverse pyramid in technology adoption around the world. And you saw it with the global eradication of smallpox. We had a smallpox vaccine in 1804, 1796, depending on which historical account you look at. It took about 200 years for that smallpox vaccine to eventually find mass production, mass distribution, and mass inoculation. It was not an easy task, but eventually it did happen. But it took the wealthier countries to adopt it first, and then find a way to produce it on a lowest cost per unit basis possible, and then find the means to actually distribute it, which was not easy, and then actually implement it. And that's what we are doing here. We are looking in a lot of ways at ensuring that we're thinking about that technology adoption model, and that we're thinking about it from the very beginning so that we can start looking at influencing and ensuring that we can accelerate the adoption of life-saving medical technologies on the digital front. Remember, there's 4 types of medical technology today. There's molecule, there's biotechnology or chemical, there's device, and now there's digital. This conversation today is focusing on digital. And along those lines, one of the other things that we do to help accelerate the adoption of medical technologies is something called the Breakthrough Challenge. And it's sponsored by the Breakthrough Alliance, chaired by Bill Taranto, the CEO of the Merck Global Fund with Merck Pharmaceuticals. And the Breakthrough Challenge offers free studies and free connectivity and promotions for companies who enter and win prizes. And you'll see, your company, if you do enter, or if you know friends who have startups, and again, it's available to startups of any size. It could be angel round, seed round, ABC, but it's basically an emerging technology, either pre-commercial, early commercial, et cetera, that is focused on digital health. And that could be biomedical informatics, that could be bioinformatics, so it could be genetically based types of digital technology. And that's really what the Breakthrough Challenge is all about. The application deadline is tomorrow. So about another 24 hours or so for your friends, your families, your colleagues, whoever, to apply to the Breakthrough Challenge and enter to win some extraordinary prizes and really some fantastic visibility as well.